Marketing Architects.
Hello, and welcome to the Marketing Architects, a research-first podcast dedicated to answering your toughest marketing questions. I'm Elena Jasper. I run the marketing team here at Marketing Architects, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rob Demars, the Chief Product Architect of Misfits and Machines, and we're joined by a special guest, Chuck Hengel, the Executive Chairman of Misfits and Machines.
Welcome, Chuck.
And congratulations, team. Elena, Rob, and Angela, who's not here today, for 100 amazing episodes, #1 global podcast.
Well, at one point in time.
Famous, yes, like Rick Simmons sharp. Be honest with me, what had to have occurred for you to invite me back to this?
We wanted to have you on. You were on my list.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, had you guys met before in person? I was just curious.
Yeah, I should disclose this is my dad. So let's keep it professional, Dad.
Got it.
I'm sitting on my hands right now.
All right. We're back with some thoughts on some recent marketing news, always trying to root our opinions in data, research, and what drives business results. The Marketing Architects crew, which would be me, is outnumbered by Misfits today because I thought it was about time we had another episode on AI. It's been over a year, if you can believe it, since we had an episode that was dedicated to AI and marketing. And a lot has changed since then. We each came prepared today with a practical, current day use case for AI and marketing, actually with a couple of them. And there are more than ever. So this episode should be relevant for anyone who has an interest in how they can use AI to improve their marketing and advertising. But before I get into our use cases, I want to tee up our conversation with an article. This is by Matt Asay for InfoWorld. It's titled AI's Moment of Disillusionment. Asay believes AI has officially entered what's known as the trough of disillusionment. There's been a lot of hype about AI revolutionizing industries and taking over tasks like writing code or marketing copy. But has reality set in? This author believes that AI, especially generative AI, simply can't meet those massive expectations. It's great at mimicking human-like responses, but it falls short when it comes to reasoning in a meaningful way. Studies show tools like ChatGPT struggle with coding problems that involve newer information, which calls into question AI's ability to replace humans for complex tasks. And historically, every big tech trend, whether it's blockchain or cloud or serverless, has gone through this same cycle we're seeing now. We overhype, we become disappointed, and then we find realistic ways to incorporate the tech. The same appears to be happening with AI. It won't be the solution to every problem, but it'll still play an important role as a complementary tool. Asay believes AI may not replace humans, but it can enhance what we do. So I chose that article not because I necessarily agree with the author's sentiments, but because this point of view is increasingly common. So I wanted to start here. What do we think about the perspective in this article and just the general idea that AI is going through this trough of disillusionment?
I love that question. I actually, in preparing to answer that, researched about 30 different technologies, and they've all gone through that same process. Even the current areas outside of AI, synthetic biology, quantum computing, AR, VR, 5G, blockchain, autonomous vehicles, all of them follow the same pattern. So for the folks that are jumping off the bandwagon of AI, I just encourage everyone to think about that's what every technology's faced, but it went deeper. Some of the old technologies, like Galileo, just seeing that maybe the world didn't revolve around the earth, just the opposite. That was turned into a process that put him in jail. He died in jail over that. And so it wasn't until later where Newton and others came along and said, yeah, maybe the earth is not the center of the universe. Looked up Semmelweis, who was basically the savior of mothers, his tagline was. He basically had the observation that if you wash your hands, mothers aren't going to get sick. And he died in an insane asylum. He was denied that. Later, Louis Pasteur and others came along and said, yeah, this is probably a thing. And yet, do we learn from that? Look what happened in COVID. The whole globe is arguing about the transmission of germs. We thought this was settled 350 years ago. And so 3 days ago, I'm in the doctor's office. I broke some ribs, getting those looked at again. There's one sign on the wall by the door. It says, foam in, foam out, wash your hands. The doctor comes in, doesn't do it, does the stethoscope thing, examines me, says, you're going to be okay, you're healing nicely, walks out, completely ignores that. So hundreds of years, people are still basically in denial over that basic premise. So am I surprised that AI is going through that? Not at all.
Yeah, I personally love this article. I wish there was more articles like this that continue to hit the headlines, because as a marketer, it's more cheesecake for me. Let's get as many marketers as we can to be disenchanted by AI, because it's a constant feeding frenzy of opportunity right now. I love the fact in this very article talks about the fact that it can't reason well. And a week ago, Strawberry was just released with reasoning capabilities that exceed everyone's expectations. As a marketer, if you are looking for opportunity and looking for new ways to bring products to market, this is the best time in human history to be alive. But am I overhyping it? I don't think so. But I'm an optimist on this.
Yeah, I knew both of you would probably have a different opinion than this author. But Rob, that is interesting how much things have changed even since this was published. Like you said, one of his main points is about reasoning in complex tasks. And I was reading that thinking, that's not true anymore, considering like the new stuff that's come out. And I would agree with you. I think that if you're looking for use cases, you will find them. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I have noticed when talking with marketers that there are differing maybe opinions about what you can use AI for right now. Because there's the right now and then there's the future. And we can talk a lot about the future. And I think some people are maybe waiting for that. But we'd all three probably agree that there are opportunities right now that marketers can take advantage of. And that's what I want to talk about today. So we all had some homework. We needed to come prepared with 3 present day AI marketing use cases and then pair those with the future state. So what could this look like at some point? So a mix of kind of the practical and then the future that people can look forward to. So Chuck/Dad, you're the guest of honor. Why don't you get us started?
Can I call him Dad too?
I mean, it's a little weird, but sure.
Okay.
I'm still thinking about your cheesecake comment. The listener should know Rob's a professional eater. I think that's why they named the new version of ChatGPT Strawberry. It attracts people like you.
Strawberry cheesecake.
We are simple people here, and we sometimes love the simple solutions. Like I love just naming and tagline and logo generation. It does a really good job. Where I hope it ends up, though, is please come up with names that I can trademark. Please check for domain, website availability, search dynamics, go the next level so that I don't have to do all of that after the fact. I'm excited for when that gets here.
All right, Rob, what's your first one?
All right. Current state sounds like future state to me, what I'm about to describe. I was talking with a friend of mine who is working in sales for a new organization, and they just deployed a real-time AI coaching program with all of their sales reps. And in real time, they're getting feedback by the AI on how they're doing, how they're closing, how their empathy is projected within these calls. That was a huge business years ago in terms of call listening and coaching for organizations. AI is now doing this now. I think there was just some recent news on the continuation of tier 1 customer support being replaced. You call Apple and you talk to some representative who's never even heard of Steve Jobs, and then they finally elevate you to the next person. AI is already replacing that. I have another friend who deployed lead capture just for the purpose of capturing people coming in because their live human couldn't have time to take the calls. It started to convert, not just take the leads, but convert to sales. And so I just think right now we're in an amazing time where AI is being deployed through phone systems. And I think for the future, it's going to be truly indistinguishable. I just experienced the latest model of advanced voice on ChatGPT. It's fantastic. And this is still early days. The voice will be indistinguishable and I think will be preferred over talking to a live person. If I can get the answers that I need through a logical voice conversation, I actually don't want to talk to a human. I think that technology is going to teach us to prefer it.
Yeah, I know AI for customer service has been a big topic. I know a lot of brands are using it now in different levels. So AI is handling level 1, and then if it gets escalated, then it'll go to a human. And I love the analyzing sales calls example, because I think we experience that internally sometimes. You start to debate what actually happened and why did someone say no? And this brings some actual objective data to it.
Absolutely.
All right, my first one is a use case that my team is doing right now for AI. I think everyone knows if you're a copywriter or you work in marketing content that sometimes ChatGPT can sound like ChatGPT. It has like certain words it loves to use. It loves the word leverage and different things like that. And we struggled for a little bit trying to figure out how can we use this to help write marketing copy. We had trouble getting it to talk in our brand voice. And Ayana, who's on my team, spent a long time working with ChatGPT, creating custom GPTs. And then a couple of weeks ago, we decided to try Claude because we heard that Claude sometimes could do a bit of a better job with matching your tone of voice and maybe speaking more human. And it's been great. It's been saving a lot of time. I've been using it for all of my writing to help get things started and double check my work. And I think that's just an example of maybe assuming that the AI is not ready, it's not there, and giving up versus looking somewhere else and seeing there's a lot of tools, there's a lot of different things to test. So that one right now, copywriting, would recommend testing out Claude. But the future state that I'm very excited about is what I would call sort of an automated brand management. So as an agency, we put out a lot of presentations. We send a lot of emails. I all the time am looking through decks, trying to make sure, does this match our positioning? How are we communicating with clients? You could see a world where AI could be reviewing all of that asynchronously all the time and ensuring that our communication is on our brand voice. We all sound the same. It's very important in a services business. And I could see how that could be great for any marketer that has copy across any of their marketing channels. It all can remain in your brand voice.
Love that.
All right. Dad, number 2, what have you got? Your second one.
Here's an area of productivity that's, I think, missed in a lot of companies where maybe an individual can't spend $50 without approval, but you can call a meeting of 15 people that costs thousands of dollars. I was in one of those an hour ago, 14 of us working on a piece of our technology. And we brainstormed on this amazing Miro board in private function. And we spent 10 minutes all inputting our new ideas. And then we're going to spend the rest of the meeting going through all the ideas and voting and deciding which ones are mandatory, which ones would be nice to have, which ones do we not need. And then we just stopped and said, ChatGPT, read all these and summarize these for us. Kaboom. We got it. And then we said, if you are really brilliant in this area of X that we are working in, reference what we came up with, what we might be missing. It came up with 13 additional areas, summarized all of it, prioritized it, and we are ready to rock and roll. So that's happening today. In the future, I can't wait for digital twins of the smartest people in the world to be available to join that meeting and really bring intelligence and expertise in areas. This is all outside of our pay grade. I overlapped maybe 10% with the content area, and others maybe knew more about it, but I think that's going to be the future. The output of those meetings are going to be amazing.
I love using ChatGPT to review anything that I write, anything I put together that's any sort of important communication. I always just put it through ChatGPT now and say, what did I miss? Pretend you are my target audience. Would this resonate with you? Like just having a ChatGPT review almost become like automatic or a habit. I think it always points out things. I'm like, how did I forget that? Or I didn't think of that the first time. It's such a great way to check your work. Or before you post something on LinkedIn, see who could be upset by that. Or maybe what you're missing. Like, are there any holes in your argument? I think that's super valuable.
Something tells me my digital twin won't get invited to any meetings since the human version doesn't.
You should thank yourself for that, Rob. I mean, I'm a part of a lot of meetings.
There is a digital twin out there, Rob, that likes you.
Oh, good. Somewhere out there.
It's being developed. It's a tough project.
It's a tough project. It's Sam Altman's secret project right now. Yes. Great. All right. Well, let's see. My next one is audio as an AI interface. That's obviously happening now. And I guess this is a little bit of a continuation of what I was talking about earlier, how ChatGPT just launched their advanced audio model. We're going to continue to get more and more comfortable speaking with AI. I think it's a very different experience when I have a conversation with my voice with ChatGPT versus typing. Both are incredibly valuable, but it's almost like you use different parts of your brain. I think we're going to continue to get taught to use AI and audio together. And so in the future, I think it's going to be really critical for brands to understand what they sound like. What does that audio brand experience in AI look and feel like? Because it is going to inevitably be an extension of you as a marketer. So how are we thinking about that?
I was listening to a podcast today about the haptic branding. I don't know if you've heard of that. Like MasterCard's working on a certain feeling you can get from your phone when you use like your MasterCard or something.
Brilliant.
And it seems similar. And we worked on a jingle recently for marketing architects. It was so fun. I can see how that could be a great project for brands. Yeah, what's your AI voice or how are you represented? We talk a lot about distinctive assets. That's definitely going to be a distinctive asset to consider.
That's a brilliant idea. I mean, you think of how many times you use your iPhone now to pay for things. And if you can have your credit card have that extra little feel to it, oh, that's a great idea.
And they were talking about how it can make you feel better swiping it, and then you're more likely to reach for that credit. I mean, it'll probably work on me, to be honest. Well, my second use case is, again, something that my team's been doing, which is using mostly Adobe Firefly, but just any sort of AI image generator to create unique imagery for PowerPoint decks. So we do a lot of deck design here at the agency. I'm sure a lot of marketers do a lot of presentations, and oftentimes you want that image to capture your point. And before, it used to take designers a long time to create custom imagery. Now, you can pretty much type a prompt and get back what you need. I like Adobe Firefly a lot because it sets you up in a way that I think helps create a better image. It's more like step by step, holding your hand, where I'm sure if anyone just typed something into ChatGPT to create an image, it probably doesn't look great, but don't give up after the first pass. There are certain ways to prompt it. And I think the future of AI imagery is being able to create 100% unique on-brand AI images that you can use in all your advertising. I don't think we're quite there yet. We've had some success with certain types of styles or certain images and making them on brand and using them. But I think about the amount of stock images I see, even on LinkedIn, scrolling through my feed, like the ads, they're all stock. And one of my personal AI theories is that these AI images, they will eventually perform better because you can create something that perfectly matches your target. It's unique. I mean, that's just going to be a better ad experience, I think, for all of us, just seeing unique images. So I'm excited for that.
That's great. Yeah. Being able to unleash your brand through the power of generative AI. That's great.
All right. Last one.
I'm going to cheat a little on this one because it's a thing that's possible, but it's taken some work, and that's the creation of strategy. And this gets us into vectors and other technical parts of the AI universe to basically prompt a large language model or a number of them for strategic alternatives for a business. And we've been working on that for about 90 days. And it's a highly technical project, but using tech that's here today. The issue we're having with it, it's still in alpha. It's too good. The strategies that come out of it, they're too good. They're too big. They're too bold. We just can't give those to clients without thinking about this. And it's shocking. So super excited about that one. And in an area that I have owned for almost 30 years in the company of strategy, it's sort of replaced my thinking. I'm sorry. It's that good. Doesn't bother me though, because then the challenge is always, what do you do with it? That's what the human is going to do. What I want to see happen is have this happen on a continual basis. It's reading the marketplace, moves the competitors, changes to the landscape, category dynamics, share voice advertising, all these really cool inputs to strategy that we used to sit in a room once a year and spend 3 days doing a SWOT analysis and dumping all this data and trying to make sense of it. Just make that happen all the time. So I get in the morning or when I wake up and it says, hey, here's what I recommend you do. There's a competitive ad campaign to offset issue in the marketplace that you're being pinned to the ground on. Hey, here is a change in your supply chain that might be disrupting how your product aligns. Hey, here's an opportunity to adjust your pricing model based on elasticity in the marketplace. And it just goes on and on. And I know that's coming. Now, what happens when every business has that available? It's going to be a total battle of King Kong versus Godzilla. Business is going to the next level because the strategy is going to be that good.
So you're talking about both brand strategy for marketers, like campaign strategy, but then also business strategy,
Absolutely.
Which, to be fair, marketers should be involved in both. So that's potentially something marketers could use.
Our belief system is that marketing is a function of everyone's role in a company. I send out one bad tweet, we're in big trouble. Our product arrives late, we're in big trouble. We have a quality issue, we're in big trouble. This all falls on marketing's hands to somehow correct. So yeah, the whole company is on the marketing team, and to not recognize that is basically to deny the importance. Now, the problem is marketers have very little authority for all these other areas of the business. Most of them aren't even on executive teams. And yet we have to respond to all of these things. We don't get credit hardly for any of it. AdWord conversions go up. Yeah, we can credit that. But hey, wait a minute. What if the product team launched a better product? And maybe that's why it approved. Well, we're still taking credit for something maybe we shouldn't. So it is a team-based thing. Now, the opportunity for AI is that there's just too much in the line of sight for one human to process. It's just not possible. And AI does that like a 2-inch putt. It can ingest all that information and make quality recommendations. Is it perfect today? It's pretty good.
Are people perfect today?
Well, when I saw the data that said 80% of the TV spots as rated by human beings in our industry don't meet a standard of quality. We already have 80% of our work don't meet what the human says are standards. So huge opportunities to see significant improvements on all sorts of aspects that comes from the LLM. And that, I think it all starts from strategy.
I like that point of view too, that maybe AI could help extend the tenure of a CMO rather than AI taking a marketer's job. It actually could help a marketer be more accountable and have a line of sight on the things that you really need to in order for your brand to succeed. Because like you said, it's beyond just communications, your role. There's a lot that rests on marketing's shoulders.
Right. We're talking comms all the time. That's a small piece of marketing. What about our offer? What about a mafia offer? How do we really create demand for our product? That takes a lot of analysis and a lot of insight to figure that out. And the businesses that do succeed, the ones that don't, they go away. And that's what I was saying. This is so powerful. It's like, putting me behind a Formula One race car. I'm just not capable of driving it. So we're really thinking about that. And I'm excited for that.
That's a great one. Wow. All right. Mine for number 3 is AI agents. So AI agents are all the rage right now. Everyone's talking about them. I think the easy example of what is an AI agent is what Apple Intelligence is going to be introducing into the iPhone, where you tell Siri, hey, I'd sure like you to order me an Uber. And then after that, it makes dinner reservations and the hotel reservation all sync to your itinerary for your travel. Like, oh, that's amazing, right? So you give it one command, it does a series of tasks. And this is already being introduced to marketers today. So you can create an email campaign, and through a series of agents, it will segment your audience, create the content, set up the A/B test, deploy, and monitor performance. I think, and that's today. In the future, it's only going to get better. It's only going to get more complex. We're going to have richer media plans that are going to get developed, full video production, product optimization, the whole 9 yards is all going to be handled by a series of agents.
Yeah, I get excited thinking about AI agents. There's a few tasks in my role that I cannot wait to have an AI agent to go through and help with.
And in my personal life.
Yeah, both.
Laundry, because, it's a multi-step process.
I guess I don't know how much an AI agent's going to help you do your laundry, Rob. But...
Oh, I'm optimistic.
Okay, great.
There's so much to listen to. Like a microwave is really a kitchen robot already. It just doesn't have hands and feet and face. It already does magic with your food. Like, how does it even do that? Doesn't get hot. So like, we've been dealing with magic our whole lives. It's just, as soon as I realized that, I'm like, yeah, this magic, we're just waiting for it to have a face and hands, but that's not what's going to happen. We're going to build magic into every product, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, don't think too long about how an airplane flies. That'll make you sick. You just don't really know how any of this works. All right, I'm going to wrap us up here with my third use case. And this, I would say, if you're a marketer right now and you have not put something into Google's Notebook LM, do it, and you will impress everybody at your company. So Notebook LM, it takes complex content and it turns it into a scary, realistic podcast conversation to break it down, to make it easier to understand. It's great if you have some, giant deck you're given, you need to read it, understand it, a white paper, put into this. It's scary how these hosts will take this content and talk back and forth with it. We released a report from our agency, and now going forward on our blogs, when we release these complex research reports, since it's our own research, we're going to put it into Notebook LM and include that as an option for people to listen to that and get the content without having to read the whole report. It's amazing. And in the future, this is scary to admit as a podcast host, but I can see just full AI podcasts with my voice, with Rob's, with Ange's. It'll have the right inflection. It'll have probably better banter than we ever could as hosts. And you'll have to decide if you want that or if you don't. But I think that we're going to have some full AI podcasts that are going to be really, really good.
I'm so glad you brought up Notebook LM. especially with the article that you just talked about. Because are we in some kind of trough of whatever? Have you experienced the magic of that notebook element? It's bananas. And guess what? Nobody talked about it. It wasn't in the headlines, but if you experience it, it freaking blows your mind. It's so, I don't know. I get frustrated when we're like, oh, it's a hype cycle. It's like, well, just watch the freaking news. I had a friend that I showed that to just the other day who works in tech, hadn't heard about it, and she was visibly shaken by it. Not just because it was amazing, but like the implications of it. So to think that we are in some kind of trough, it makes me chuckle. Sorry, I had to say that.
I'll pile on, Rob, to that. And I didn't choose that one. That's my favorite because I figured I'm related to this person and she's going to choose that one. And you did. If anyone's listening to this, and there's a bunch out there that are, and don't go try this immediately, I'd love to do an analysis over the next 20 years where the group that tries it right away ends up versus the group that doesn't. It's that important to try. You'll have your mind blown. Take your most complex legal agreement and put that in there. It will blow your mind what comes back. I have done that. I've done all sorts of other things. And I'm like, wow, I am no longer an idiot on reviewing legal documents.
Oh gosh. If you're an idiot, that's bad news. Yeah.
It's amazing. There are so many functions designed to make the leader of things look stupid. I call it mutual mystification. Complex reports, legal contracts, 80-page decks, and you just load it and you get about a 7 to 8 minute clip and you just have to try it. It hasn't even really learned me yet of what I like. So it's pretty cool. That's a great one.
And it's just a pure experiment on Google's part. This isn't even a product they're selling. This is just something they're offering. I mean, it just kind of puts it in perspective of what's next to come. I mean, they're not even talking about this. It just happens to be a little thing they offered 2 weeks ago, and it's mind-blowing.
I definitely was one of those people that had to walk away from my desk for a second after I first listened to it. Just like, oh, I need to contemplate that. All right, let's hit our final question. We've been talking a lot about AI work use cases, but to end, I want to know what is the most practical, just everyday thing that AI has helped you with so far? Maybe something that's just made your life a little bit easier, and we know there's more to come. So Dad, why don't you kick us off?
So I write birthday cards, anniversary cards to my wife. They're always handcrafted.
Don't tell me you're using AI to write those to Mom now.
She said, are you using AI for this? I've been doing it for 30 years. And I said, no. I've thought of it though. I said, let's try one together. So I prompted it and then read it to her and she thought she was just going to hate it. And she got emotional, even though she knew it came from AI. So I don't know if I prompt something with what I feel are the guidelines and it comes back with something amazing. Is that wrong? Just try that. It was a touching moment. This depersonalizing of AI into like machinery that doesn't have soul. I don't know. There's the electrodes that are attached to brains right now that can read what you're thinking. They can actually start to even see what you're thinking. This is how we're going to give vision to people who are blind. Like that stuff is happening now. So to be disillusioned, yeah, we know all the bad stuff that's happening, but we also have tech to overcome the bad stuff. So yeah, that's something I did and it was sort of fun.
All right. This is super practical, but how many times have you gotten a recipe and you needed like cumin, right? And you're like, when am I ever going to use cumin again? But I had to buy a bottle of cumin. And then you buy some paprika, whatever. So all of a sudden you've assembled a whole army of spices, right? So I created a GPT that knows all of my spices, that spices I never use, right? Because when am I ever going to find a recipe for that? Then I just type in whatever ingredients I happen to have, and it creates a recipe utilizing those spices. So that's my practical GPT because I don't have a life.
That's still better than my answer, Rob. Good job.
I like that, Rob. Sometimes I use ChatGPT if I'm missing an ingredient. Like, what can I use instead? Like, here's what I have. What can I use if I'm missing an ingredient?
You cook? You're claiming in public that you cook.
Well, I'm a sous chef to my husband, but sometimes I help.
Just we speak truth to power on this podcast. I believe.
Okay. Thank goodness this is about to end. Mine is also practical and has to do with food, which is I do a lot of working out. I do triathlons and I'm also eat a lot of food because I'm doing a lot of training. I like to ask it when I can run after certain meals. You all know the feeling. If you start to run too early and you just ate a bunch of food, you just feel sick. And it sounds silly, but I found it really helpful just for little things like that where you can customize it. And if you ever had to, back in the day, in the olden days, you would have had to Google search and then you hit an article. It's somebody's life story about running and baking their kids cookies. And then you've got a display ad and it takes you forever to get to what you actually need. So it's pretty nice just to go direct.
Can you eat before podcasts?
It depends on the podcast.
I mean, I get too nappy.
Helpful. That's a good one. I got to start using that.
All right. Well, Dad, thank you so much for joining us. That was a really fun episode. I hope people found it helpful. That's it for this episode of The Marketing Architects. We'd like to thank Taylor De Los Reyes for producing the show. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you like the podcast, please leave us a review. Now go forth and build great marketing.
Thank you, Dad.
And I never want to hear that again from Rob.
I thought you were Uncle Rob, so I'm a little confused on a relationship.
That's ended there.
Marketing Architects.